Hello YouTube. Well, today is July 14th, known as Bastille Day, and sort of by interesting coincidence, I find myself in a place called French Azilum, or French Asylum. When the French Revolution was going on, the aristocrats that still had their heads attached and screwed on figured they better get out of town or end up on the guillotine, so they headed to America and settled here in this little village. And we're gonna take a look around and see what kind of things we can find. Now, the French Revolution went from 1789 to 1799, and this house was built in 1836, so shortly after that the village was still going. This was done by Mr. Laporte, and unfortunately they will not let me film inside. They've got quite a few period pieces, some lace and things that were owned by the people that were here. But so if you get a chance to come by, some interesting things that I've never seen inside the house. And they give a tour every hour on the hour. They're open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from Memorial Day till around Halloween there-ish. If I'd been here yesterday, I could have participated in the Run the Bastille 5K, but I missed it by a day. This site is situated on a big bend in the river, and the Omi family ran a ferry, and this bell was on the other side of the river so that people could ring it and get somebody to come over. They'd ring for the ferry. And here's a picture of that ferry. And they ran it from the early 1800s until the 1930s. I sort of envision the ferry to be a lot like the one from the outlaw Josie Wales, with a rope across the river and pull it across. And behind the house, in this building, they've got a blacksmith shop they are restoring, and a smokehouse. This house, or this building here, they call the weigh house or the scale house, and that's where goods coming through would be weighed, and if they were taxing them, that's where it'd be levied. And then you've got the wagon house with storage above for hay. Well, this is a labyrinth. Now, most people confuse labyrinths with mazes. A maze is meant to puzzle you, try to find your way to the center. A labyrinth is more of a contemplative type thing. This one is in the shape of a fleur-de-lis. Looks like they need to do a little bit of weeding, but if you go in the entrance and follow the path and don't take any sharp turns, then it will lead you around and back out. And a lot of them were done in medieval church floors in cathedrals. You can find them. I've actually took a course a couple times. I took the course in building one, and the ones I did were not nearly this fancy, but it's meant to calm you as you walk it and contemplate things. And believe it or not, just the walking of the labyrinth does have that effect. Now, I'm thinking Schoolie Palooza? People want to collect a lot of white marble, and maybe out in the desert we can make a labyrinth. Or not. So like I said, we're on a bend of the Susquehanna River, and when the French Revolution was starting, there was three men, Robert Morris, John Nicholson, Stephen Girard, among others, were sympathetic, and so they thought there would be a way to make some money. They bought 1,600 acres and laid out the plan for the town, included a 300-acre common and individual half-acre plots for the buildings. They built about 30 rough log cabins, similar to this back here, and they expected there to be, well, they did 400 lots, and they only really got a couple hundred people that came here to settle. Because it's out of the way, in the early 1800s, it just sort of faded away. Napoleon came into power. He was sympathetic to the exiles coming back, but so the place just sort of dwindled away. When they did build, they built one big grand mansion, which was called the Queen's House. There was thought that Marie Antoinette and her two children would be able to escape and come here to live. We all know that did not happen, but they planned for that, had this beautiful big house. They used it for social gatherings and so on, but never ended up being used for the purpose that they intended. Well, this hole in the ground, some people just think of it as a cellar hole. It looks to be about 15 feet on the side. It actually was a wine cellar, and when they excavated this, they did find some bottles and other paraphernalia down there, but they speculate that there was one of the log cabins was built on top of this. So this cabin was built in the 1780s, so it's authentic to that time period, and I always loved it when they did more dovetail kind of joints, but to really hold the corners together. And this was built on the Wells farm and was donated here in the 60s, moved here to give us an idea of what kind of buildings they. So here's some of the artifacts that they found in that wine cellar. It was also used for vegetables, I'm sure. At the bottom of a wine bottle and the neck of a bottle. And some pottery bowls, pieces, shards. Well, that's going to end my visit here to French Azilum, or French Asylum, and I love this driveway here with these beautiful rock walls, but I'm going to hit the road, see what else I can find along the way. So, see you later, YouTube.